How long will we remember the Austin Riley home run and the bizarre double play to end the Braves Phillies game? Well, that all depends on who wins the series.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please, as my lower third somewhere will tell you, you can call me Sully. I am an Emmy-nominated television producer who has been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and I am now in my fifth postseason as a member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. And for those of you who listen to us every day, make sure to hashtag Everyday Sully so I know who is out there listening every single day. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat more than 50 infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. I'm going to pull back the curtains a little bit. I am recording this during the evening of the 9th of October 2023. I know what happened in the incredibly dramatic Atlanta Braves and Philadelphia Phillies game that happened earlier tonight. The Dodgers and the Diamondbacks are still going on right now, so I don't know who's going to win that game. You already do. Our good friend Millard Thomas is going to be on for the final segment to talk a little bit about that game. But right now, we're going to talk a big chunk about the Braves and the Phillies. And I'm going to bring up a little bit of why Twins fans should feel very, very good about the possibility of their team splitting, which is pretty much all you could ask for at this point. Hey, let's do a little bit of house cleaning right now. A couple of people have texted me or tweeted at me or sent me messages via YouTube. A lot of people like the show I did the other day where I brought up the fact that one of my kids in my class, I was joking, who's on severely on the autism spectrum and is a huge Dodger fan, and my buddy D, we'll just call him D here. I was saying, you should pitch for them this weekend, and the fact that he only recorded one fewer out than Clayton Kershaw did. But as it looks like right now, the Dodger pitching is not that much better from the starting rotation. I asked what franchise has won 5 World Series, and all of them went to Game 7. Well, apparently a bunch of you knew this one. Jody Jackson knew that one. John Murphy Jr. knew that one. My buddy Marcel knew that one. Court Stell knew it. The answer are the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates have won the 1909 World Series against the Ty Cobb and the Detroit Tigers. The 1925 World Series, where Red Oldham came out of the bullpen and got 3 future Hall of Famers out, 1, 2, 3, to close the World Series out. 1960, which Hal Smith hit the huge dramatic home run. You thought I was going to say Bill Mazeroski. Well, in a later episode, I'm going to point out why certain people like Hal Smith and Bernie Carbo and Tony Womack actually got the more dramatic hit than we all remember in great baseball games. Mazeroski also had a good game that day, too. Roberto Clemente led the 1971 Pirates to a 7-game victory over the Orioles, and Willie Stargell led the 79 Pirates to a 7-game victory over the same Baltimore Orioles. Did I say St. Louis Cardinals? The Baltimore Orioles, I meant to say. My bad. So that was the answer to the trivia question. Now, there is another strange trivia question that I'm not going to say the trivia question. I'm just going to mention this fact. The Baltimore Orioles right now are in real danger of joining a notorious group of teams. These are teams that include let's see if I can do it from memory, because I thought I had it written down here. The 2000 Chicago White Sox, the 2001 uh, Houston Astros. I know it also included the 2000 and let's see, the 2008 Chicago Cubs, the 2014 Angels. I won't call them what they call themselves, and the 2016 Texas Rangers. And what those teams, they're ignominious is they're horror. It's one of those words I can't pronounce. Their bad place in history. How about that? Is that all of those teams were the number one team, the number one seed of their league. The White Sox, the Cubs, all those years I just mentioned, with the number one seed in the playoffs in the wild card era, and they all got swept. Every one of them were the best team in their league in terms of win-loss record and did not win a single game in the postseason. I bet you forgot all about the existence of the 2000 White Sox and the 2008 Cubs and 2014 Angels and all them, because they were gone before you knew they were there. And the Baltimore Orioles, if they lose on the 10th to the Texas Rangers, they will join that group. However, one team that will not join that group are the Atlanta Braves. And it sure looked like they were going to, because Mr. Wheeler, who he's been around this league for so long, lest we forget, he was the main Giants prospect that was sent packing to the Mets for Carlos Beltran in 2011. That's how long he's been around, and he's had a pretty nice, solid career. But alas, he's with the Phillies now, and he was throwing himself a no-hitter and basically was making, he was absolutely dominating. The first 6 outs he recorded were all strikeouts, and it was crazy. It was crazy how he's dominating this team, which has a historically great offense, and a team that was shut out in the first time they went through it. So it was just crazy talk. And the fact of the matter is, the Phillies looked like they just were the better team. And then came that tiny window. The d'Arnaud home run gave the Braves a little bit of life. And then when they hit Acuna in the bottom of the 8th, I remember just kind of perking up thinking, something bad is going to happen here. They took out Wheeler, and I understood why they took out Wheeler, but you just got the sense of, something could happen here. And of course, Acuna gets to second. He steals third. They had 2 strikes on Riley. And I really felt like, okay, they're not going to get this. He's going to strike out. When you watch a baseball game and all you can envision is the strikeout? Well, kids, that's not what happened. And when he hit that home run, it was one of those deep home runs, and you just could see it hugging the left field line, and me thinking, wait a minute. Wait, what? And there are certain home runs that are the types of home runs that turn the series around. That the series is going one direction, and it just zigs in a different direction. The Jim Leyritz home run in the World Series of 1996 comes to mind. And then there's the Spezio home run against the Giants in 2002. Just these super dramatic home runs that turned a series that looked like it was completely going one direction, and then suddenly took it a different one. Now, where will this one land? I know that it landed. It landed in the seats. Now, a lot of it depends on what happens in the series. Now, of course, it ends with, of course, Harper getting on base, and then the deep drive to right center field, and Harris jumps up. Now, it was I I thought it was going to be a home run when I was watching it. The replay showed it probably would have been a double off the top of the wall, and would have certainly have scored the tying run. And Harris, the second one, not the first one, catches it, and somehow Bryce Harper, I guess, thought it was already off the wall because he was halfway to third base. It turned into the end of the Benny Hill episode with everything bouncing around, and before you know it, the they was double off at second base. Now, I'm a Bryce Harper fan, and Bryce Harper was the NLCS MVP last year. He has been a superstar this offseason. But if the Braves hold on to win this series, that Riley home run will be a great turnaround, and that will be a gigantic red-faced moment for Bryce Harper. It doesn't eliminate his multiple MVPs. It doesn't eliminate the dramatic home run that he hit that essentially sent to the Phillies to the World Series last year. But man, oh man, to be double off like that on a critical game like this, that was pretty amazing. Now, will this be a footnote? The Albert Pujols home run off of Brad Lidge was a super dramatic home run. But in the end, the Cardinals lost that series. Rajay Davis's home run in the World Series of 2016 was one of the single greatest moments I've ever seen in baseball history. But Cleveland ultimately lost the game. So where will this home run land? If the Braves turn this around, dust themselves off, pound Nola in game 3, and that's on the table, then the Riley home run will look like the moment that the Braves woke up. If the Phillies wind up winning it, then it'll be totally forgotten, maybe? Not sure. All I know is we're going to have baseball on Thursday because the game is going to go, the series is going to go at least to game 4, and the Braves don't have to worry about joining that list of the teams that have the best record in the league and couldn't even win a single playoff game. Okay, let's talk a little bit about our friends at Jase Medical. Modern medical care and treatment are important, but our global supply chains, they're fragile. Things like pandemics, natural disasters, and foreign aid, they may cut you off from the treatment that you need. Jase Medical is your solution. And guess what? It can be done online. All right? People may be in situations where they're cut off from the doctors, they're cut off from the medications they need, and they can't get appointments for days. Well, with all the barriers in front of you, Jase Medical creates your solutions. Go online, fill out a form, then you can get prescription life-saving medication delivered right to your door. The Jase case gives you peace of mind so that you're not just hoping that you have access to the medication in an emergency. Jase Medical makes sure you have the medication in hand. Save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. That win that the Twins got the other day was potentially seismic for this main reason. When you go through who has the most impact in a postseason, names are going to come up, and every year there are names that come up that make you go, "Wait, what? Wait, are you being serious?" And without fail, there are people who become major factors in the postseason. And I've always brought up Eddie Rosario and Jorge Soler a few years ago. Were like, I can't believe that they have become major figures in the postseason. And right now, as we're sitting at this point in the playoffs, Josh Young and Pablo Lopez are the two dominating figures of this postseason. But I'll tell you who also is tremendous is Evan Carter, who just seems to get on base at will. With all the superstars playing today, of course, we're worried about Evan Carter. On that same front, Sonny Gray is suddenly playing a gigantic, important role in this year's postseason. He is the starter who's going to be coming in and pitching game 3 of the division series. And Sonny Gray has had a pretty good year. And again, this must be absolutely surreal for Yankee fans and some, Reds fans and everyone seeing Sonny Gray suddenly finding himself at a key moment in this postseason. But, he's pitched pretty well down the stretch. He won a couple of key games, going 6 innings, striking out 8 at one point, throwing 7 shutout innings against the White Sox, not against the greatest competition, but pitched very well in his 5 innings where he struck out 6 in the postseason against Toronto. And and has played quite well. Thank you very much. And this year, he pitched well, pitched 184 innings, pitched to an ERA of 2.74, strikes out just around a batter an inning, and has a good strikeout to walk ratio. Had the best FIP of any pitcher in the American League. All this makes him a solid pitcher going into this game. But there's another factor, and that is the Astros pitching. Now, look, Christian Javier is a good pitcher, but he's been struggling. He's not been the pitcher that you hand the ball to thinking, oh, yeah, everything's going to go great. He pitched well down the stretch. He had a really good game against Baltimore down the stretch, but he's not been lights out. And then you have game 4, which is going to be a coin toss between Jose Urquidy or JP France. Look, realistically, Twins fans should be hoping that they split the next 2 games and force a winner-take-all game 5, which by definition is a coin toss, of which you'd be handing the ball in all probability to Pablo Lopez, right? It would probably be Pablo Lopez versus Justin Verlander, and you take your chances with that. But the fact of the matter is, if Sonny Gray outpitches Christian Javier on the afternoon of the 10th, then suddenly the Astros season is in the hands of Jose Urquidy, JP France, or Justin Verlander being pushed in a day early. And if they push Verlander in a day early, then you're going to have either Framber Valdez pushed up or some bullpen game in game 5. Sonny Gray, this is, again, why baseball postseason is so glorious, because one of the entire major moments of the postseason involving the defending World Series champion, who suddenly could look up and see their wearing orange counterpart, the Baltimore Orioles, are on the verge of being eliminated by the Texas Rangers. All the Rangers have to do is go 1-2 over the next 3 games, and they move on. Now, the Rangers are the definition of a streaky team, and the Rangers could go all the way to the World Series. We all know that. But the Astros have to take care of Minnesota first. That's why that game 2 was so critical. Look at Christian Javier. We all saw what he did last year in the World Series. He started a World Series no-hitter. Okay? We all know what he can do. But the fact of the matter is, we are living in a world where he is, in all probability, the single most critical starting pitcher we are going to see in October thus far, because he could single-handedly send the defending World Series champion Astros into an abject panic if he outpitches Christian Javier tomorrow. The entire complexion of the American League postseason would change in the blink of an eye if Sonny Gray outpitches Christian Javier tomorrow. The injuries and the inconsistencies, the Hunter Brown injuries and everything, have all come to a head with the fact that the Astros pitching depth is not what it was the last bunch of years. And now they're looking up. There is a very, very real possibility that the Minnesota Twins could be in complete control of this series in less than 24 hours. And if that's the case, well, basically there won't be any bad guys in this postseason. Now, I'm not saying that the Twins definitely have the upper hand, but what I am saying is they are in an absolutely glorious position to put themselves in the driver's seat in this critical moment in the postseason. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm interested to find out what happens. The baseball postseason is back, and you can make your postseason debut with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Join FanDuel today, and you'll get started with $200 bets in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to create your new account. Then you can get in the action from the first pitch until the final out. Bet on everything from strikeouts to home runs to who will win the game. If you don't want to wait the whole game to get a W, predict what will happen the next at bat with quick bets. So head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon right now. Step up to the plate this postseason with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Hey, Locked On Diamondbacks and Locked On MLB listeners, look who's here. It's Millard Thomas. I'm your pal Sully. We're doing a quick impromptu Locked On MLB, Locked On Diamondbacks crossover, at least for this segment. The game just ended like 5 minutes ago. And I think it's incredible that in 9 innings, the Dodgers somehow stranded 50 runners. I don't know how that's possible. I may have to check it. That may be wrong. But boy, it seemed like it. And for the Diamondbacks jumped out to a 3-0 lead after the massacre the other day, and the Dodgers were given chance after chance after chance, and yet here we are. It's 2-0 Diamondbacks going back to Arizona, and nothing is going the Dodgers' way. Millard Thomas, what the heck is going on here?
Sully, I don't even know how to articulate how I'm feeling, what I'm seeing on the field. I haven't seen the D-backs lose a postseason game yet. We're 4 games in. This is the D-backs' second series. They swept the Milwaukee Brewers. They were the comeback kids in that series because they let the Brewers get up early every game in that series. Then they came back, swept that team. Now they face this LA Dodgers team, and so far through 2 games, they're the team going up early. They're the team attacking first against LA. And I said entering this series, that this Dodgers team was a little bit more vulnerable than years past. I wasn't picking the D-backs or anything to win this series. I still thought Dodgers in 4, but I thought there was a better chance for the D-backs to make this a series and potentially take it better than what we've seen in the past, because this Dodgers rotation, as we've seen, it's just not as good as it's been, from the past few playoffs. Clayton Kershaw, he's a little bit older. We know his playoff struggles. And then after that, because you don't got the Gonsolins, the Julio Uriases, the Walker Buehlers, it's like you had to throw out Bobby Miller for game 2. Might be Lance Lynn or like a Ryan Pepio cocktail in game 3. Like, the D-backs advantage in this series is their starting rotation. And then you throw in the fact that their offense is also the best in the postseason right now, lead the playoffs in home runs. Like, this was a team that didn't hit power in the regular season. Now, all of a sudden, they've turned into like a home run derby team. It's been insane. I really don't know how to explain the D-backs heading back to Arizona up 2-0 on the Dodgers, and you're going to have Merrill Kelly at the very least in game 4.
Yeah, I didn't give the Diamondbacks a chance at this one. Especially, I thought game 1, everything was lined up the Dodger way on that one. And as I mentioned yesterday's podcast, they got 1 out from Clayton Kershaw. That's not good. That is
Yeah,
not
maybe
good.
the worst start of his career, right? Like when you look at his playoffs and even the regular season, like
I'm
has he
trying to
had a
think
worse
of
start?
a I'm trying to think of a pitcher of that caliber who's had a worse start in a
Mhm.
postseason game. I mean, Pedro had a couple of bad starts, especially his final start when he pitched for Philadelphia. Greg Maddux had a couple of bad starts. I remember with Atlanta. Randy Johnson had a couple of bad starts in his career, but I'm talking about someone who's a Hall of Famer who wet the bed that
Legend.
badly. I'm really Clemens had a couple of bad starts. Schilling had one or two bad starts, but that was when Schilling's. But none of them like leaving in the first.
Yeah, and you combine it with the fact that Merrill Kelly on the other side, 0 for 11 in his career, has never won a game against the Dodgers before game one, but you wouldn't have known that with the way he pitched because he was completely locked in and shut down that Dodgers lineup. And it's been great for this D-backs offense to really get to this Dodgers bullpen early. Now, that's not as big of a fact with I didn't know how many rest days are going to be built into this series. Honestly, it's like
It's ridiculous. It's
it's a lot of
absolutely
rest days.
ridiculous. It's
So it's
insane.
like getting to the Dodger starters early is not as important as it might have been in the regular season because they're
Right.
getting so much rest days. But you still like to see that, you know, so far through 2 games, the Dodger starters have combined for 2 total innings pitch. I think that's been the biggest difference in the series. We knew the Dodgers bullpen was going to be elite. We've seen that. But also the other part is this D-backs pitching staff, their bullpen has heated up. They've matched the Brewers bullpen. They've matched the Dodgers bullpen. This team was middle of the pack, the 18th best bullpen in terms of ERA in the regular season. And that's only because that final month of the season, this team had a sub-3 ERA from the bullpen in that final month, and it's carried into the postseason. Ryan Thompson got picked up off waivers from the Tampa Bay Rays in August. He has yet to allow an earned run. Sal Frank, we saw tonight, was able to help the D-backs get out of a jam. Those two guys have been big revelations. Combined with the Kevin Ginkel and the Paul Sewald, the D-backs have at least 4 dudes that they feel really good about in the back end of the bullpen right now.
Well, and just think back to when the Brewers took that lead in game one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking to myself, oh boy, Millard,
Yeah,
happy
spots on the
happy to
rope.
be here. Well,
Yeah,
hey, who would have thought they would have gotten in? I mean, hey, come on, they gave you a summer.
the scrappy
Um,
D-backs, right? That's what
if
they
you
were
had
at the
told me
time.
at that moment they would be 1 win, they have to go 1-2, including 2 games at home. I think the Dodgers should start Pepio, but that's another conversation. I would have thought you'd be insane at that point. By the way, Carroll is everything you would want him to be. His
Yeah.
postseason average is 500.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's been absolutely insane. I mean, he's been locked in at the plate. I mean, all he does is just get on base every single
Yeah, he
game.
got on base 4 times tonight.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like a good, like it was a quiet Corbin Carroll game. Like I felt like
Right.
he didn't even have to do much tonight. Like you said, still 4 times on base. All he does is get hits. All he does is steal bases. Like he's incredible.
Do you know what his postseason OPS is right now?
Tell me slowly.
1.632.
And listen, he's going against MVPs on the other
Yeah.
side. The Mookies.
And by the way, the
Crazy.
player of the game for the D-backs tonight is probably Gurriel, with
Yeah.
not just the home run that he hit, but that weird play in the ninth inning where he made that fly ball in the ninth inning a little bit more of an adventure than it probably should have been.
Yeah.
But in the end,
Right.
it just isn't out, But he drove in a pair of runs tonight, and that was just. And Marte has had a wonderful postseason so far. Pham has had a terrific postseason so far. Moreno, the catcher, has his OPS is over 900 in the postseason so far. They've been just getting contributions up and down the lineup, and you're gonna have Zach Gallen. In worst case scenario, he's gonna pitch another game.
Yeah.
And
No.
I don't. I mean, look at the D-backs are in great shape.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm willing to say that. But
Yeah.
I've seen teams fall 2-0 in worse shape and come back. And game 3, if I were the Dodgers, I'm starting Pepio because he's pitched the best down the stretch. He's pitched well. Lance Lynn has been there, done that. He's had a couple of good games for the Dodgers, but also some lousy games too. I would hand the ball to Pepio in game 3. If there's a game 4, you hand it to Lance Lynn. Or you could hand it to Clayton Kershaw because he wasn't overworked in game 1.
No. And also, I think they're going to be on normal rest by the time
Mhm.
game 4 rolls around. So I think we are going to see Kershaw versus Kelly and then Gallen versus whoever in that game 5, if necessary, of course,
If
because
necessary. Well, that means game 3 is just critical. I mean,
yeah,
they
I
got to
think
pull.
I think game 3 is just going to come down to the offense, honestly. I think game 3 is just going to be potentially your classic slugfest. I mean, you're going to have Brandon Pfaadt on the mound. We know he loves to it could be a home run battle between Pfaadt and Lance Lynn, who gives up more, but I think Ryan Pepio will probably be in as early as the second inning. I think Lance Lynn is going to have one of the quickest hooks in postseason history. Like, I don't think Dave Roberts. I think it would be
What was
like the
it?
game we saw
No, they're
tonight.
not going to have a quicker hook than they had on Kershaw in game 1.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
1/3 of
Kershaw
an
game
inning.
1, Miller game 2. Like, Dave Roberts is not playing around. And with the bullpen that he has, like, you can see why, like, Brazier, Gratterall, even Joe Kelly was solid. Like, that bullpen was pretty nasty and really carried the Dodgers tonight. And you,
Hey,
you see how much they've had to do through the first 2 games.
yeah, by the way, the Dodgers bullpen did their job tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, the